Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It's very nice to see all the happy faces here. Prabhupada used to say, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. That is the essence of Brahmacari life. No big problems. I just brought out this revised edition of the Brahmacari book. Some showed it. Some showed it. Is it? Something like that. No, it's not. More than Brahmacari. It's revised. Anyway. So there are a few small things. It's mostly just a few editing changes, but there are just a few extra points that I put in. So one point I put in, new point, is that a brahmachari should not have many problems. Brahmachari is just meant for chanting Hare Krishna and being happy. If you have many problems, you're in the wrong ashram. You should go to the problem ashram, namely the Grihastha ashram. That's where the Grihastha life means there must be so many problems. Brahmachari life is meant for being simple. Not simply physically, but even more important, mentally. So I'm saying I'm happy to see the smiling faces. Naturally, when we see others who are happy, we also become happy. But actually one cannot be happy unless he's in Krishna consciousness. That is a basic principle of our philosophy. Of course, it's not simply a philosophy in the sense of something dreamed up by some mental speculator. But in Krishna consciousness, philosophy means fact, not speculation. So if Krishna consciousness is actually a fact, then those who practice it should become happy, because that's what... And especially this Brahmacari life, it's a very nice life of being happy. Even a sannyasi has more headaches than brahmacharis. Sannyasi has more problems than brahmachari. He's living a very simple life. So maybe not, but still, isn't it? If you're just very simple and doing some simple service, then no problems. But I'm not sure if I put it in this book, in the revised edition, but actually I'm always considering that the Brahmacari ashram is the best for spiritual advancement. Because Grihastha life means so many problems and so many diversions. Especially in the modern age, to maintain a family, you have to work harder than an ass. The ass has an easy life, the average Grihastha. They may be praying, in my next life I can be born as an ass so I can have a little rest. And sannyas life is also very bad for Krishna consciousness, actually. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Trinadapi Sunechena, and all the time people are coming up and offering their obeisances. And you don't even return, you just say, oh, Hare Krishna. All the time people are giving honor and service, which is just exactly the opposite of what a Vaishnava should be. Of course, a sannyasi is supposed to offer all these up to his guru, and in this way he can digest, otherwise he gets indigestion. If it doesn't get digested, then it builds up in the head, and eventually the head bursts. But in Brahmacari life, no one offers special respect to Brahmacari. He's just a Brahmacari. That means no woman would have him, and he's not good enough for sannyas. That's how people think. That's what people think. So they think he's useless for them. He's just, you see, he just doesn't have any special facility. So he must be just some useless fellow. So it must be not very important. That's what people think. So it's very good for spiritual life. It's very good for practicing humility. And the Brahmachari, all he has to do is serve Guru and Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, and dance, and go back to God. Generally, people think that Brahmachari life means the whole essence is just not getting married. So of course that's true in one sense. But actually there's much more to Brahmacari life than simply gritting your teeth. And actually if you're gritting your teeth, then you're not going to remain a Brahmachari anyway. One actually has to be happy in Brahmacari life. Then you won't even think about other things. So to maintain that requires actual Brahmacari. Nagme charati iti Brahmacharya. Brahmacari means to move in the spiritual dimension. That means one has to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And then naturally one will take pleasure in that. Brahmacari life is also especially meant for study. So you should all take the opportunity and study Prabhupada's books. That will give you the inspiration and the intelligence to remain on the path that you are on. And when we read these books and we see the horrible condition of human society in the present time, then naturally we want to distribute this book. So if we remain absorbed on this platform, then our lives can very easily and very happily be successful in all this. I really don't recommend, if you're a brahmachari and you're happy enough, then don't in think about family life. One reason, apart from your own personal sadhana, your own personal spiritual advancement, is that there is so much work to be done in spreading Krishna consciousness. We need hundreds and thousands of dedicated soldiers of Lord Chaitanya's army. Ahani ahani bhutani gacchanti haya yamalaya. Every day, so many living entities are going to see Yamaraj. We have so much work to direct them in the opposite direction towards Krishna. The best people to ask about the value of Brahmacari life is Grihastha devotees, serious Grihastha devotees. But either they were previously Brahmacharis in an ISKCON ashram, or they joined, or they came to the Krishna conscious movement after getting married. Of course, we have a few like Vediraman Prabhu who are Grihasthas and full-time devotees, but mostly you'll have to get out there and do some nasty job. Although actually Prabhupada wanted rural communities so that Grihasthas didn't have to engage in all this ugra karma. But so far we've seen that mostly our Grihasthas, they prefer to do ugra karma so that they can have the facilities like electric light and sumit and all this kind of thing. So if Grihasthas previously at Brahmacari, they'll tell you that the best time of my life was when I was a Brahmachari. And those who are married and became to Krishna conscious after getting married, they'll always say, don't tell my wife this, but I really wish I'd come across these books before I got married. Then I would have been with you. I wouldn't have got married at all. Their ears are everywhere. You will get to them. But actually, seriously, I often find that Grihasthas, they appreciate this book even more than Brahmacharis. The Brahmacharis, they may think, well, it's just a bunch of hype. You know how to say hype in Telugu? It's exaggeration. Yes. Ati stuti. Ati something. But the Grihasthas, they know, actually, it's all true. The Grihasthas, they know it's all true. Another experience I have is that you see a Brahmachari gets married and they say, I'm finding out everything that in the Bhagavatam about family life. It's all true. You should have understood that before you got married. So anyway, more or less whatever I have to say, it's in here. There are many other points of practical living in Krishna consciousness that I'm compiling in another book called Vaishnava Culture, Etiquette and Behavior. When it actually gets published, which is going to be at least a year. I've been working on it for now, coming up to the 13th year. It won't be ready for at least a year. I've been working on it already for 12 years. There are many details there. Just like, for instance, in this book it talks about cleanliness. But then I get into that book, I get into some details. I'm hoping that these books can help in training and guiding devotees. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions? Maharaj, would you like to make any points? Maharaj has taken sannyas, but he's living more simply than many brahmacharis. Real sannyasi. Anything? Would you like to add some comments?
Ask any questions to us. I'd just like to know this. How does the psychological factor help between a brahmachari and a grihastha? Because, as you said, the grihastha personnel is more exposed to the married life and the material practice he come across. But a brahmachari is totally devoted in spiritual continuity.
Supposed to.
Yeah, okay. So the vibrations when a grihastha says something in a spiritual life, the reaction from a brahmachari, he takes it in I feel like he takes it in a negative way. Why is that happening? When the vibration is not due to that frequency of mind, or...
What do you mean exactly? The brahmacharis don't respect grihasthas?
No, it's not a question of respect. The vibration, actually, we feel something positively, but the viewpoint is it may go into negative aspect as well.
I can't understand what you mean.
It's about that.
Yeah, but you have to express yourself more clearly.
Yeah.
I can't understand what you mean. Negative aspect, what exactly do you mean?
It's not that we felt something, Maharaj, so that couldn't be understood properly.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. I can't understand what you're saying. You have to express yourself more clearly. Probably means that you don't exactly know what you mean when you're talking about yourself. If someone can't express themselves clearly, it means they're not thinking clearly. I suggest you read Prabhupada's books now, because everything, you can learn how to think clearly and express yourself clearly from there. And in Krishna consciousness we express everything is very clear and straightforward. This indirect kind of language is not there. Actually, Mayavadis, they talk in all various kinds of strange ways, and you can never understand exactly what they're talking about. But in Krishna consciousness, it's not like that. Everything's stated very clearly.
That's also some question. Here, now we have a lot of responsibilities for preaching and a lot of management also. At the same time, Brahmacari should experience a lot of living and lifestyle, very simple life, loving life. So sometimes, how much is important before the Brahmacari enters in more management to experience it in more years from
Management, yeah. Management is something that has to be done. That's what I was saying, that's one of the reasons I was saying that sannyasis, they don't have such a simple life as Brahmacari. Because often, myself, I don't have any direct management. I've kept myself aloof from that, but you can't avoid. When you're involved with different devotees, you can't avoid people asking advice, and then you can't avoid to some extent being involved, and especially when you have disciples, then you have to get involved in people's lives to an extent that you, as a Brahmacari, you may not have to. Actually, I never had so much to do with women until I took sannyas. Because sannyasi is a social figure also. You're supposed to... What is that? What is that? Griheshu Dina Cheta, something like that. Nanda Maharaj said about Karavamuni. That the sannyasis, they travel to the homes of grihastas and to enlighten them. So as a Brahmacari, you don't have to get involved with people so much. But as a sannyasi, then you're involved with preaching to people, and most of the people in the world are grihastas. Actually, they're wives, and they're also living entities who deserve respect and so many different things. So, anyway, Brahmacari's life is more simple. But then management, if someone has to do it, then it may be that if someone's capable, even from an early days in Krishna consciousness, he may be involved in that. And Prabhupada sometimes did, even from what he saw a capable devotee, sometimes from the very beginning practically involved in management. But generally we suggest that if you can, it's not that everyone will do or has to get involved in management either. It's not an inevitability, although generally whatever you're doing, even if you're just doing traveling Sankirtan, which is a very simple program, if you become more experienced, you'll probably be managing a party, which even to manage a traveling Sankirtan party with 4 or 5 men is, in some ways it's like managing a small temple. There's so many things to consider. So generally we suggest that, yes, well, managers, it's not so much up to the Brahmacharis, but it's more up to the managers who appoint other managers or other devotees to help them in management. So we generally let devotees be free from that for at least some time. Also, one thing is that if we give management positions to very new devotees, it's often not very good for their spiritual advancement, because they tend to, there's a tendency for them to become proud, and then they don't properly deal with devotees, they don't learn how to deal with devotees. So generally it's better in the beginning. In the beginning, the first thing when we first come to the temple, what is the cleaning the floors, cleaning the toilets, all this kind of thing. That's the best thing. For the very new devotees. First few months, you can clean the floors, clean the toilets, especially if you have a so-called higher education, or if you're born in a Brahmin family. It's more important to clean the toilets, because there's more tendency towards being puffed up. And we'll see if you're serious to serve Krishna or not. Even you may be capable of doing other services, but one is not actually capable of serving Krishna unless he's free from false ego. Especially in India, because it's considered for the very lowest class of people only to clean the toilets. So if one is actually serious to serve Krishna, free from false ego, then they do all services for Krishna. That means that it teaches one from the very beginning to be surrendered. Unless that's there in the very beginning, then even you may go on in Krishna consciousness, but you'll never make proper advancement. So giving this kind of service to new devotees is very good, so if they're prepared to do or not. Otherwise, if they're not, then it's better they don't join the temple. They'll cause problems to themselves and others later on if they're not prepared to surrender. There's some other questions.
There also is 99% which are not chanting. Sometimes chanting active doing is not how to maintain.
Prabhupada says the chanting 99% will be limited, but without chanting, you cannot concentrate.
That's not the quote. You misquoted. What did you say?
By chanting 99%, we are
99% of advancement comes from chanting. Well, one thing we should understand about this quote, it doesn't mean that hearing, serving, surrendering, all these things are not important. Prabhupada sometimes made such statements to stress the importance of one thing, but that doesn't mean to minimize the importance of other things. Advancement comes from chanting, but unless we hear properly and serve properly and surrender, then we can't chant properly either. So you're saying sometimes we get effect from chanting and sometimes we don't. Well, Prabhupada said that the effect of chanting is measured by our eagerness to serve. There may be certain factors which contribute to the better or not so good chanting. Sometimes if you're very tired, it's difficult to chant properly. Or if our mind is agitated by whatever, there's so many things that can agitate the mind. So we can't expect that all the time that everything will be just smooth in our Bhakti. But that's another test that we have to keep on going, even though everything is not always smooth. It's just like if you have a graph of a successful company, then the general trend goes upwards. But it's not exactly like this, it may go like this. Up downs, but the general trend is up. So we have to keep on going and pray to Krishna. Have faith in the holy names. I hear you're singing here, Vigna Vinashana Narasimha Dev. Actually, our acharyas have given in the Brahmacari, Bhakti Vigna Vinashana. Because there's another Vigna Vinashana for relief from material obstacles. Materialistic people pray to Ganapati. But Bhakti Vigna Vinashana is a completely different. What is a Vigna in material life may be Anukul for Krishna consciousness.
Some Brahmacari said, doing service of Vikasa and service. That kind of Jesus who can get after.
Brahmacari?
Serving Vikasa families, some.
Serving Grihastha families. Well, that's a very, you want to translate? Well, that's a very general kind of question. I mean, there are all different cases. Generally, a Brahmacari serves a Grihastha. When we see in Bhagavatam, Brahmacari Guru Kule, that means he's in the home of the Guru, who's generally the Gurus are Grihasthas in the Vedic society. So maybe it's a very general question which I can't give a specific answer for. It's not in and of itself a wrong thing that Brahmacari serve Grihasthas. It's not in and of itself wrong that a Brahmacari serve Grihasthas and we serve all Vaishnavas. Alright, so another thing is Brahmacari should chant their rounds, sannyasi should also. Let's have a little time for that. Is that alright? You guys want to translate this? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.